Okay, so this morning we're going to be talking about the $64 million question. Do I sell my property now or do I wait? What is the right move for you? Gut reaction, Perry. Before we go through this, what's your gut reaction? Sell now or wait? And then we'll ask what our gut reaction is at the end.
My gut reaction is now, because I actually just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I would if I didn't know what I knew now, I'd be sitting going, I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait.
So we're different.
Yeah, well, if I didn't know what I know now, that's a qualification here. And for everybody on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and all the Facebook pages, good morning to this morning's show. I mean, when the property market takes an uncertain turn, it can throw your moving plans into doubt. Remember the post-Brexit wobble? And when COVID struck? Both looked catastrophic for sellers, but prices surged in the boom, which followed the massive shortage of property from such a high demand out there. Now, higher interest rates and inflation may cause many buyers to press pause and keep renting as they wait to see how things pan out. How's that going to work out for them?
It could be more costly, Jim. I'm sure we're going to cover that.
Listen, we did this last year, didn't we? We talked about this last year, and I'll be honest and I'll say property prices in Fife, for example, have gone up 4.8%. So everybody held out hoping that property prices were going to crash have now have to pay on average 5% more. So £5,000 more for every £100,000 of value in your property. Now, if you've got an existing property, then happy days, because your property has probably gone up on average 5% as well. Therefore, you're a normal step to the next level, as well as downsizing as well to the next level as well. You've secured your place in the housing market, and this is what property does. Well, most people don't move for financial reasons. Let's be honest. Factors like families, work, and lifestyle are the ones that run the show most of the time. I mean, when new babies coming along, you can't say, can you make it 18 months while I buy a house? Because it's like, no, 9 months is my 9 months is my time limit here.
Yeah,
I
time
am
up.
coming at 9 months whether you like it or not. It's money that makes everything move possible, though. So selling your home is selling your home actually a really good idea, or is it a bad idea right now? Which will actually find you a buyer? Will you actually find a buyer, or are you better off waiting? And for how long would you want to wait before you actually put your house up for sale? There's so many questions to answer. And this week's show actually covers all you need to know about selling in today's market so that you can make a confident plan for your future. Remember, this is all about a confident plan for your future. It's not anything else other than that. This might be the right time for you to sell. At the end of this might be the right time for you to hold on. It might be the right time for you never to buy a property at all and rent. But that's another story. That's how to read your. That's how to live your rich life, which we'll be doing at 12:30 on the Wealth Creation Show on Monday. So we'll be talking about that. You know, there is times where the decision should be, don't actually buy a house at all.
Do nothing. Yeah.
I bet you've never heard an estate agent say that.
Doing nothing's never normally something that we work with, is it? We tend to not do nothing.
One of the things I think about all the time, Perry, and you know I'm a numbers person. I mean, what do the numbers look like?
Do you know what I think it is as well, though? It's one of those things that people just put off because number crunching is just not exciting. I know it's for you, but for your average person, number crunching is not exciting. It's not something that motivates people. But actually, it is the real important factor that you need to consider before you even decide what you're doing. And it's part of moving home. Actually, speaking about it personally, I mean, I'm not moving home, but I'm one of these people at this moment in time. As you know, Jim, I bought 2 years ago and our mortgage is coming up to renewal. So I bought when rates were really great. So now we're having to sit back and look at, well, how does this work for us now? What do we need to do? What's our considerations? So even if you're not moving or staying put, you do need to look at numbers, no matter how you feel about them. It's really important to do it. It's a cornerstone of knowing whether it's financially possible and manageable, actually, for you as a family.
It's the one thing that everybody just forgets completely is that it's
Yeah.
the numbers. If the numbers work, I mean, I know that, let's throw caution to the wind, and I have seen people do it recently. Let's throw caution to the wind and just go for it. But it's like, no, no, no. Just hold your horses. Let's sit down. Let's talk about the numbers, how much it will cost to move, and how much it will cost to rent
Yeah.
and wait. These are the sort of things I go through with people. So it's not generally just about selling your house. It's about helping you manage your whole situation from A to B. You want to get from where you are right now to where you want to be. And it's giving that smooth transition as possible, but explaining everything it could, every possibility and option that's available. So make a decision on the facts rather than just what they think their opinion is, or their opinion of their friends is, which is quite frightening. That's the thing here. This is like this is like a poor person teaching somebody to be rich.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And it's the same way you get advice from your friends about, should I sell my house or should I not? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know what it reminds me? It's when people on Ant and Deck Saturday Night Show, when people go, should I gamble? And everybody's go, gamble.
Go
And
for
it's like,
it.
well, I'm going to say at this point in time, you've probably got 50% of the top prizes because you've got half of them, but everybody just wants to gamble it. It's
I
like,
know.
where did that come from? It's that sort of mentality that sometimes applies to the opinions that you're given. Especially on, I'll be honest, we're on this format right now. I sometimes say to people when they ask for financial advice or that, Facebook is not the format to ask for financial advice. You should be
No.
going to a financial planner for that, or you should be going to a mortgage broker for a mortgage. You'd be going to an estate agent to sell your home. You should be, there is specialists in each field. Use them. Opinions of people that are not qualified are very, very dangerous, would I say.
It is dangerous, but I think you're right. I think it's important to do that, but not everyone knows where to start. And I know what you said there, Jim, about this not being the right platform, but actually that's not what we're doing. All we're doing is providing people with some information and guidance so that you can then go and make the right decisions. And I think that's why it's important to look at the nuts and bolts of everything.
Well, as Keith Cunningham used to say to me all the time, people that don't know Keith Cunningham, he was Rich Dad and Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is Kiyosaki's book. As Keith Cunningham used to say, Jim, it's only my opinion and it's only the path that I've followed and the path that I've trodden. Whether you want to take my advice or not is entirely up to you. It's just my opinion. So take my advice, don't take my advice. It makes no difference to how it affects me at all, whether you do whatever you do. So I think it's important to talk about that. So what do we need to consider then, Perry?
I think the first thing you need to do is speak to an agent and find out actually what is the value of my home. What is my current home's sale price going to look like? How much will you need to pay for your next one?
Yeah.
And remember as well, if you're trading up, that gap gets larger when prices start to rise again. And we've just said that, prices have risen 5% on average in Fife. So the longer you wait, if you're trading up, the gap gets bigger between your current value and your next one. So again, it goes back to what you said with regards to why you're moving. If you're trading up, it's generally because, as you said, Jim, your family's extended. So it's a reason. You're not just waking up going, oh, I need a bigger home.
Right. So
there's a purpose.
I get that completely. If you're in a £200,000 house and you're getting a 5% increase, then you're effectively getting £10,000 extra. But if you're trading up to a £400,000 house, you're having to pay £20,000 extra now because it's gone up 5%. So therefore, the differential that you're losing is actually £10,000 we're waiting. So the trade-up should wait. Shouldn't wait. They should just get on with it. If the market is increasing. If the market is decreasing, then they possibly should wait then because their decrease will be a lot less than the person they're trading up to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's a big difference for people. So that's definitely something to consider.
I'm actually quite surprised when I walk into most people's houses, though, and they've actually had all these conversations with everybody else before they've even had it with their stage. So they come out with all their assumptions and their preconceptions about what this conversation is going to be. This is why I ask most people to just clear their mind, have an open mind, approach this with, I don't know anything about what I'm about to hear, or I don't know anything about the process at all. I maybe might assume there's certain things about the process of selling a house, but generally, a lot of it's actually non-factual information, I would say.
And it's difficult though, isn't it? Because it is one of those things when you think about it, it's the biggest thing in your life that you do, apart from being married, I guess, is buying a house. And so it is quite easy to get yourself tied up in knots with it, isn't it? And your brain can just get so busy with it that you can't think straight. And that's why you do need guidance.
Most things the biggest decisions in your life is having a family, having kids,
Mhm.
changing a job, moving home, getting married, getting divorced.
Yeah.
That's more or less the 5 drivers that drive
Mhm.
everything. It's the most stressful, potentially,
Mhm.
things in your life, but the objective of the estate agent is actually to make it as stress-free as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing is about that. Are you trading up? What's the values of yours? What's the value of where you're going to, and how does that impact you? I think as well, again, what some people often forget when I'm having conversations with them is
Yeah,
actually the cost of moving. So it's not just actually the price of the property, it's the cost of moving. So it is your estate agent's fees, it's your removal fees, it's your services fees, so your gas, electric, all the swap over there. It's your removals, it's your solicitor, your conveyancing. It's if you're trading up, what is the property taxes you're going to have to pay?
repayments. A lot of people forget they're in
Yeah.
a fixed rate mortgage or a fixed rate deal, and the repayment could be an issue. Therefore, the best advice I say to most people is go back to your existing lender and ask if there's a possibility if you can port the existing mortgage. If it is a really good mortgage deal, by the way, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't get a better one right now, ask if you can port the mortgage and actually probably get a further advance on top of that mortgage
Mm-hmm.
to make up the difference for the bigger mortgage you'll probably need to get the
Yeah.
next house that you're after.
Yeah.
So that's an option to do that, and that when won't void your actual, your redemption penalties.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an option to do, but again, speak to a specialist mortgage broker about that.
Yeah.
If you need help on that and support on that, then by all means reach out to us.
Yeah.
We can refer you. There's 2 people that I do all the time. It's Kessa Salimi for the buy-to-let mortgages, and Neil Bird is probably one of the best I know in terms of private residential mortgages as well.
Yeah.
But we can put you in touch with these people.
I think the big thing as well, as you say, it's not just the actual repayment fees, and I mentioned it there just about taxes, but I mean stamp duty. People often forget about that, Jim, when they're trading up. I was recently out to, and again, it's really important to think about how long you're going to be in this new home you're buying if you're trading up. I have a situation with a client at the moment who bought a property a year ago, didn't think about the tax at the time and stamp duty, had to obviously pay a substantial amount of stamp duty,
Yeah.
is now having to sell that house again. So has lost all of that. And we're talking a large number here, tens of thousands of pounds.
So when you go into a property transaction, again, we're getting into living your rich life. When you go into a property transaction, you want to make sure the property transaction is going to be over a longer period of term. Therefore, you'll be able to split all these costs and absorb them over the longer years. In other words, when I was out to the other day in St Andrews, was actually £45,000 to move.
Mm-hmm.
£31,000 or more was actually all the land and building transaction tax on
Mm-hmm.
top of it. And then you had all the other assisted fees on top of that as well. And I think they were actually really surprised. That actually stopped them in their tracks and went, whoa, wait a minute. But that is the point. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I better no sell now. It's like, oh, I've lost a sale. No, I've actually given the right advice, because the
Yeah.
reality is you probably would have put your house on the market. You would have got to the last minute, and then the lawyer would have presented you and said, by the way, it's going to cost you £45,000 in transaction fees to actually sell this. And then you'd go, oh my God, if
Mm-hmm.
I'd done that in the beginning, I probably wouldn't have sold. It's like, that's why you get an informed estate agent out to talk to about that.
And just to touch on that, Jim, actually, I think that's a really valid point that you make. And for us, it is about the relationship with someone, and it is about the person's journey and giving them the right advice. And whether that means you don't sell the house or you do sell the
Yeah,
house is irrelevant, really. It's about the person, isn't it? And I spoke to that couple after you went out to their property, and their decision is that they're going to remain as is. They're not going to sell their property. And what they basically said was, we could not believe how knowledgeable Jim was. He really helped us understand it, gave us information we had no knowledge of whatsoever, and didn't appreciate how much money it was going to cost us to do that. So
yeah,
now we're actually going to stay where we are.
yeah.
And for them, that was the right thing for them to do.
Makes sense. It was like, geez, 45 grand to move on what was the, and I did say to them, if you're going to spend 45 grand to move, just put the best artist studio you can ever get out the back for
Mm-hmm.
£20,000 then, if that's the case. If that's really what you're wanting, the extra room to get that,
Yeah.
spend the money because you've got this good size of garden and do a 15 to £20,000 artist studio out the back, all singing, all dancing, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be here for the rest of your days. You're in a bungalow. You're probably never going to move again then. So
Yeah.
that's going to be absorbed, and you're going to get the best quality of life because you're sitting in the middle of St Andrews as well.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for? Everything you told me at the beginning is right here. Why on
Mm-hmm.
earth are you moving?
Mm-hmm. And they understood all of that, and they really appreciated it, actually. So that was really great advice. So definitely something for people to think about. If you have a mortgage on your current home, as we said, if you're looking to take it with you to another house, you can transfer the mortgage over. So again, get good advice about how you could do that. There are deadlines though for keeping the same rate, so just be careful on that and make sure you understand what those deadlines look like. If you and again, actually, if you don't want to port it, which is what they call that, if you don't want to transfer it to the new house and you do want to pay it off early, again, think about the penalties, because you will have penalties in your mortgage. Yeah.
What about if you need to borrow for the next property then?
Again, you need really good advice. You need to be making sure you're speaking to a financial advisor. Firstly, can you actually borrow the amount that you're looking for and that you need for the new house? Do the payments make sense to you, and can you afford them? And over enough periods of time, how does that look for you?
Yeah.
Sorry, my printer's just going off here. And again, so what does your repayment period look like, and can you afford the payments on the new property? So it's all very well saying, oh, I want that house and it looks fantastic and it gives me what I need, but can you afford it?
Who knew that lenders change their terms sometimes for borrowers over 55?
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that. I never knew that. I only found out with this research that we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can vouch for that because I'm in that situation just now. So we're looking at our remortgage. We've got a small term on our mortgage because of our ages.
Do you know, I say never. Never at this point. And actually give me a compliment. Never. You're never over 55.
You should say never, absolutely. But actually, to go back to your comment earlier, I have reached out to Neil Bird and he's helping us with that, because it becomes a different situation when you're 55 plus.
Yeah.
Stop smirking, Jim. Yes, 55.
But once you've answered all these questions, you've got a clearer picture of whether your moving home is financially viable without actually feeling overwhelmed or overstretched. Yeah. That's the fundamentals here. Now, this is where it comes to me sometimes, paralysis analysis. Avoid the over-analysing the market. This is where everybody stops. This is what stopped a lot of people from moving. The best time to move a home is always when it's right for you. Mm-hmm. Not to do with finances, it's when it's right for you. But it can be all too easy to get distracted by the headlines about the state of the market instead of focusing on the next chapter of your life. What things do we need to think about then, Perry?
I think the first thing, and people often ask us this when we go out, Jimmy, it's like almost as if we have a magic wand. It's notoriously difficult to predict what's going to happen next in the market. And I think we've totally seen that over the last 2 years in regards to post-COVID. What did that mean? How did it impact us? And the chances are that it will change in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. We just don't know how often it'll change. So
we can I've predicted a lot of this.
we can make a calculated guess, but people want a definitive, and you can't give a definitive sometimes. We always caveat it.
I've been right anyway.
Yeah, but I think, as you said, I think it's about what is right for you, and do you need to move? And actually, it becomes irrelevant of really what's happening, because actually your circumstances are dictating it to you anyway. So the time to put your home in the market really is the time that it's right for you, and that's the day that you need to move.
Absolutely, that's what it is. It's circumstances that prevail every single time. Your home should not be used as a financial tool to make money or lose money or whatever it is, because all it does is secure your place on the property market in terms of the fluctuations of prices. And because yours will fluctuate at the same time. That's what the home is for. It's for living in, not for making money of.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, if you were going to make money out of it, what you would do is what I'm doing, which is actually build up all the equity in your home over all these years, and then sell everything, and then move into rented accommodation and release all the capital to spend and invest on something else or give to your children.
100%. And I think the thing is, as well, and one of the things that we often come across is people are always kind of trying to analyse, are we at the top of the market? Are we at the bottom of the market? Where are we now? What's going to happen next? It's not worth trying to work that out, actually.
Yeah.
You can't manage your move around that. You've got to manage your move around what's happening in your world and get the right advice to guide it so that actually then it all works for you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think it's important as well. People need to think about the lifestyle that they want, when they want it. Maybe it's actually being dictated to them. Maybe their family's increasing and it wasn't part of the plan. So actually you just have to now. So, I've never met anyone who sold their house purely because of where the market is. There's always a bigger reason behind why they're having to do what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
it's
you said
simple as
those
that.
5 things that, yeah,
That drive everything, doesn't it?
100%. Thing about moving home is that once you've started thinking about it, you've just got to go and do it, because actually it's then difficult to get it out your head, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like this is a chain reaction. So this is a chain reaction. Craig Noon's a classic example up in Cellar-Dyke. You know, it's like number 8 went on, then number 11 went on, number 14's going on. It's like, what's going on? It's like, but it does. It starts a chain reaction with other people as well when they see a for sale board going up in the street, and then they go on. Hey, everybody, listen. Everybody does it. Just admit it right now, all to yourselves. We all do it. The first thing we do when I see a for sale board going up is we go straight to the website and we find out what the price is for the property we're on, and then we compare it to our own property and go, wow, is mine really worth that much? I
Exactly.
didn't realise that. And then that then starts to open options for you without you knowing it, really. Some people just like, oh yeah, that's what it's worth. But then over the next couple of weeks, that wee mind, that wee voice in the back of your head sits and works away, and then and formulates and about, oh, maybe this could actually give me better options to do this or do that or do, all these different things start to formulate out of that, just out of the fact that starts a chain reaction. So I completely get that, why it does that. So once you start, it's difficult to stop, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think the key thing here is that you've got to keep you focused on your dreams and the reasons why you're doing it. And if it is now that you need to do it, then do it. If the time to move is present, great. But if it's not, that's fine as well. We'll go back to that couple that you spoke about in St Andrews. It wasn't right for them, and that's fine too. At least now actually they've got that in their heads and they've got that knowledge, so they can stop thinking about it. Yeah, they can stop thinking about it and just live on with their life and enjoy the home that they're in.
That's it. Take it out of your mind, park it, because if you've got all this rattling about in your mind, it causes a lot of stress over a longer period of time. Just get the right information, make a decision, either do it or not do it. And this is what we're talking about today. So if now's the right time to move, then that's fine. If now's the right time not to move, then that's fine as well. So what if you're already for sale on the market? If your home has been in the market for some time now, and you've probably experienced the shift in market firsthand, and the chances are the price you first started needs to actually reviewed. This is actually quite important for the people from round about the 250, 300,000 mark and upwards, because there's a two-tier market just now. Up to the 250, 300,000, it's very, very affordable for most people to get a mortgage on a monthly basis, the cost to afford that mortgage for that property on a monthly basis. When you go beyond 300,000, mortgage starts to peter off a bit. The higher the audience starts to peter off a bit as well, and it's a lot less than what it was last year or the year before, because finance was a lot cheaper. Therefore, the monthly cost of a mortgage is a lot higher now at these levels. Therefore, that type of market is now having to reconsider. If you're up at the 300,000 to 600,000 to 700,000 and 800,000 price point, and you're sitting on the market for quite a while now, you've really got to seriously consider realigning your price, or at least having that difficult conversation with your estate agent. Now, if your estate agent's proactive enough, they've probably been in touch with you already and talked to you about this situation and given you examples so you can make an informed decision. But if your estate agent isn't proactive enough, you're going to have this conversation with them right now, or you're going to be stuck where you are for quite a long time, to the point where you'll probably just go, I'm just going to have to give up and take my house off the market. But
It's a big challenge.
Remember what I said though, when you're selling and you might have to realign your price to a different price point, the person that you're buying from is probably doing the same thing. So it's like for like, proportionately. You're actually gaining because your price at your price is obviously higher, and then the price that you're paying is probably a bit less. So there is some sort of gain, and there is some sort of loss depending on what side of the market you're on, I would say. So what's the first thing you have to do then when you're having to go through this price review, Perry?
First thing you've got to do is speak to your agent. Absolutely. Getting your move back on track is really important for you. Ask them about similar homes that are in the area that maybe have sold recently.
Yeah.
What prices did they achieve? What perhaps was done differently? What was the conditions of the home? It's important to understand that as well.
That's actually quite a good one about the similar homes, time and time again. And anybody out there, you don't really need to ask your estate agent to do this. just go on in your price banding and actually look at all the other properties that are available in your price banding right now in your area, or maybe even just outside your area. Be realistic, because there's a lot of people, it's like, I choose to stay in an area which is far more affordable than the areas I actually work in, because it makes absolute sense. It's affordability. I don't want to spend an absolute fortune on my house. I don't want to spend a fortune for that. I want to invest and develop wealth for the future and for my family and for my community. So that's what I choose to do it, and that's why I choose to live in an area which is far more affordable and more amenable and easier access to other places. So these are the sort of conversations you've got to think about yourself while you think. You can check your price banding of your property with the properties in your area, and it still looks attractively affordable. Other people are still checking outside of your area and seeing for that same price banding, what can I get maybe just 3 or 4 miles up the road? Classic example is Garbridge. Centre of St Andrews costs an absolute fortune, and you've got the Eden development, which we've put on at Seggy Drive at 300,000 for a 4-bedroom property, detached. And 300,000 4-bedroom property just outside St Andrews in Garbridge, which has got millions of pounds of investments going in from the university, especially, and also the distillery. There's got to be something in that next door to the train station. I would probably just actually say that's a better area for me to be rather than being there, because I could easily just cycle or walk into St Andrews anytime I want.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't think about that options, and it's important to do that and just look at the like for like versus a mile or two up the road.
So that's the key here. What can you get for your price point that you're asking for? Maybe even 5 or 6 miles outside the area. What other things do we need to consider then?
You need to look at a plan of action as well around what they'll do, what your agent will do to regenerate the interest in your property. So, what does that look like for your marketing? Your chances of your sale, how can they improve that? Will they take maybe new photographs, because maybe that was taken in the spring and now we're in the summer, and maybe the gardens look better, the outside space looks better, maybe the house internally is brighter as well because it's sunny days. So really important to do that. Look at the description. Has it really promoted the property the way that it needs to? Is there key elements that have maybe been missed or need to be rewritten? There is an opportunity as well to kind of offer enhancements. Certainly some of the properties that we have, and we're finding this, Jim, aren't we? People who perhaps have had a second home because of rates, etc., are now selling those second homes. There's an opportunity with those second homes potentially to sell them fully furnished. Buyers like that as well. There's options there.
Yep, I've had that one recently. We've just signed up. They've got all the furniture because it's an existing holiday home. Very, very successful. 4.8 out of 5. It's in the series area, and it's a cottage, and it's ideal. It can be negotiable, and the furniture goes with it because that ticks all the boxes. It's even got all the bookings as well. If anybody wants to continue that, it just doesn't. It's not in the owner's criteria just now in terms of what they want to do for the future. But it's a very, very lucrative market to be in for certain types of properties, and this could be one of them. But equally, as well as you say, it could be a perfect home for a downsizer. So that the furniture might not be an option, or maybe some of the furniture might be an option for these people because maybe their sofa doesn't fit in this property. You get rid of the sofa and keep the existing sofa that's in there.
It's simple things like that as well, isn't it? But actually, the one that we've got another one in Canucker that's exactly the same as what you've just described with the series one, and there's a potential for that to go fully furnished. It is ideal for a first-time buyer if you think about it. First-time buyer, you pay a great price for it, you move in, there's nothing for you to do. It's modernly decorated, fully furnished. What an expense that is saving you. So there's lots of ways that you can kind of potentially enhance it. But on the other side of the coin, and it's not always suitable for everyone because the circumstances might be dictating it, and that's where the pressure point's coming from. They need to move. But others who don't need to move and maybe haven't necessarily found a new property yet, sometimes it's worth maybe even taking a break. I know that sounds crazy, but take a break and then recharge it later, maybe restyle a few things, make some differences, and then there's an opportunity there then for your agent to potentially take new photos. In our instance, actually, the first thing we would be doing is doing a new video and relaunching the property on our social media channels. And actually, I'm doing that at property after we've done the show today, to do that, to rejuvenate it and put it out there because the circumstances have changed and the property looks different. So again, there's lots of ways of maybe taking the break to actually move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes as well within organisations, it's worth possibly changing the agent. In the actual I mean, that's controversial because it's like, no, I don't want to use you. I want to use them. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that is a controversial one for existing, but most people in an agency, like, I don't appeal to everybody. Sometimes I don't even appeal to myself.
It's a bit like Marmite.
That's another story. Sometimes I just can't stand myself. But unfortunately, I've got to live with me.
The thing is, it is
Even sometimes it can be, even within an organisation, but even outside an organisation, sometimes a fresh start with another agent could be the option for them.
yeah.
But I would say most of the time that won't. If your agent's done everything possible and you don't damn fine that your agent's done everything possible and everything has been done correctly and they're doing everything, and it's really down to the fact that the buyer isn't in the market right now, then changing an agent's not going to make a difference to that.
You just have to be patient.
Yeah, it's being patient, definitely, I think. But it's more importantly, it's how much information, how much feedback are you been getting for your agent in the first place? And and I had this, incidentally, I had this actually in the St Andrews area when lockdown came in, where other agents' customers were phoning me and asking me for my advice on how they should cope with lockdown. Where I said subsequently, "Have you not spoken to your own agent?" And they went, "Yeah, I have, but they couldn't give me any advice at all." And I'm like, what?
Oh dear.
Where's the knowledge and experience there about what to do and how
Difficult.
to do it? So yeah, I did give them the advice. I did give them information. I did give them advice. I didn't ask them to change to me, and they subsequently sold their house on my advice.
And that's what you want.
Done.
Yeah, job done. I think it's important, as I say, you might need to take a break, but actually there's other elements to it. If you're, again, maybe if you're needing to stage your property and you feel that it's not quite done the way it needs to be done, we've done some shows on that. So, I mean, if you go into our YouTube channels, etc., you'll see some shows on there. And
the blog and the podcast and that for the
photography and staging, etc. Yeah,
and staging your house and that is
yeah.
on this post itself. So click on that later on. You can listen to that show, you can watch it, or you can just read the article as well. What are the chances of finding a buyer?
The buyers are out there, Jim. We're seeing that in the market. The houses are selling. So although your mortgage approvals have been fluctuating, they certainly haven't fallen off a cliff, and people are still affordability. And while the market is highly price sensitive right now in some areas, it's still a very possible option for you to sell your home and sell it now. And we're seeing that. And again, I think you've been right with the information share that you've given, Jim, on the price points, because we've definitely seen the price points at the 250 and under are definitely moving quickly. So again, that's still showing that first time buyers and the upgraders in the market is still there. And it's the larger price points for obvious reasons, because if people are needing a mortgage, then when you get to that price point, the multiples are much higher, aren't they?
This is when the larger price points, you've got to be able to make sure you've got a market from London, Edinburgh, and Glasgow, which we have. Our top hitters for our websites are actually London, Edinburgh, and Glasgow. That's the ones that came onto us, and quite a few overseas as well. 125 countries around the world actually come on our website, which everybody's quite startled about, especially that couple in St Andrews when I explained it to them. Went, geez, I never even realised that. It says, well, there's the stats right in front of you. There's Google Analytics that tell us all this. Incidentally, I actually went on the Uber searches the other day, and it's a knowledgeable website traffic engine, and it demonstrated that we've got 10 times more traffic to our website than some of the main estate agents in our area. 10 times more traffic, because it actually searches it knows all the demographics of their websites. So you just type in their website and type in your website, and it compares them, and it shows you like night and day in comparison. And that for me blows my mind. People actually genuinely think because somebody looks good, that they can actually do the job good. But looks can be very deceiving. Watch out for a wolf in sheep's clothing, is the expression.
Absolutely. Bling don't mean no thing.
If you put glitter on a turd, it's still a turd.
Oh, Jim, you couldn't just leave it. Bling doesn't mean a thing, could you?
I couldn't help it. I have to say it. Yeah, it's still what it is, even though you put glitter on it.
I know I know. Stop. I'm moving on. I mean, it might sound obvious, but if your home isn't on the market, nobody will know it's available to buy it. So it's really important that you understand that.
I don't want a board up. What, you don't want to tell anybody it's up for sale? Like, I don't want my neighbours to know. But your neighbours are usually often your best people for promoting your property, because they always know somebody that potentially has visited them and maybe wants to live in your street.
Exactly.
And you know what, to put a board up. Why do you know, just let me play a game of golf and take my putter away and see how well I do? Because that's effectively what happens. 30 to 40% of your inquiries often come through for sale boards. If you're asking your agent that you don't want a for sale board put up, it's absolute lunacy. Because that's where people come. They'll immediately look on the internet when it comes on. They'll see it on Facebook or they'll see it on social media. They'll drive right round to your street, and if they don't see a board up, they might not be able to find your property at all. Therefore, some of them just turn tail and go, probably isn't up for sale then.
Yeah.
Or they maybe just can't get in touch with a estate agent at the weekend because they're possibly not available at the weekend, so they don't know. So when they inquire, they leave it till Monday. The estate agent doesn't get back to them because they've got a barrage of stuff to do on the Monday morning. And lo and behold, they forget all about it because it was 2 days ago and they've moved on with their life. You've missed a hot
100%. And I think the thing that we're also seeing with the market just now as well is, whilst we had the peaks from post-COVID, is what we always kind of call it, we had those huge peaks, and buyers might not be at that level of peakness, but they are still keeping an eye on the local market. They are still calling in, as you said, as soon as they see an opportunity. And that's why, again, it's really important that you have an agent who's got a good social media presence. You talk about the website stats, Jim, but a lot of what goes to the website comes from the social media channels in the first place. So if you've not got a good social media presence, then actually you're going to miss out on opportunities as well. So that's a big factor of how you're going to find your buyer.
What do you think everybody's watching on here right now? Social media. That's where the new technology is. Social media is television now, and television has become radio. That's a fact. So everybody sits at least 3 hours a day on their phone. Tell me you don't, because you do. I know everybody spends at least 3 hours a day on their phone. So if you've got a good strategy, you've also got a good advertising, marketing, and retargeting strategy to get in front of the right people at the right time based on the data points, you're on a winner with that agent straight away. I think that's key in this type of market right now. It's now is not the time though to get overly ambitious with your asking price. And with more competition than other homes for sale, make sure your presentation is tip top. That's probably key in the chances of finding a buyer. So, be realistic. Even though you get an offer right off the bat straight away, if it makes your numbers work and it allows you to move, seriously consider it.
Yeah.
Ask your agent, though, this is the key here. Ask your agent, what is the gut reaction of that person when you ask them, can they go higher?
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting one, because nobody asks that question.
First thing out our mouths, can you go higher?
I'm not giving away a secret there.
I think on that, though, it's really important to have realism in your thinking, because actually we do have it sometimes, Jim, and you've had it and I've had it recently, where you go out, you value a property and they go, really, it's worth all that? And then we get it all signed up. And then suddenly they're saying, yeah, but I still want 20 or 30,000 over. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. The reason
I would never have signed the paperwork yet. I would have told you to go with someone else.
The reason that it's valued at what it's valued at just now, and this is what people don't necessarily realise, because they're still thinking, oh, I heard that things were selling for 20 over last year. Yes, they were. But actually the value of your house on your home report today takes into account, and you have already got the boost of that extra 20.
Yeah, I agree.
And people don't always think about that, do they?
There's plenty of choice to buy, far more positive and less stressful experience than many had in 2022, I would say. So it's also worth saying in that, in terms of finding your buyer. It is less stressful now because you're not overwhelmed all the time. I mean, the rental market is completely bonkers right now. And that's kind of where COVID was in the sales market. So it's transferred now onto the rental market. But we've now got a stabilised housing sale market, which is actually quite good. Transaction numbers are keeping up. If anybody watched my Zoopla UK update yesterday on the property, in terms of the property prices, in terms of the property numbers and transactions overall right throughout the UK are actually holding up very, very well in terms of sale to listing, and also in comparison to the 5-year average before. So it tells me, and it paints a picture that the economy in terms of the housing market is still quite robust.
Definitely. So we've talked about reasons of
than what you get in the media, isn't it?
Oh, completely different story. In the media just gives you the headlines, and scaremongering, and we talk about that frequently.
Why should somebody choose to wait then, Perry? Why should somebody choose to wait? Tell me all about this. Why would they wait?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? We've talked a lot about why you should be going, but now actually going might not be an option for others, and they need to understand why that is. So even if moving home is in your head,
Yeah.
there are occasions when actually waiting it out might be your best option. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important for people to think about that. From our experience, there tends to be many reasons, a lot of them financial.
Yeah.
But there are other options and reasons why people shouldn't move. We talked earlier on about that St Andrews couple where it was going to be like 45,000 to move. Why would anyone do that? That's bonkers. So there's, you know, financial reasons behind it, but it's also about looking at other reasons. So you might actually making repairs, improvements to increase the value of your home, the saleability of your home, big thing, because you might
Yeah, but,
not need to,
but
you know,
but the key there is to ask us first, though. You know,
yes, so you need to get
when
good
you,
advice.
because I mean, I've often seen it before where somebody said, "Oh well, the kitchen wasn't great, but I changed it for this all singing, all dancing kitchen at £30,000, and now I'm selling it." I'm like, "What?
Mm-hmm.
You'll never get that £30,000 back in
Mm-hmm.
a year after
Mm-hmm.
changing the kitchen. That is probably practically impossible unless you've got the the Taj Mahal.
Yeah,
That's what it comes down to. You'll
it
never
is.
get that back. So if you were going to sell, you should have got us round beforehand, and we could have talked to you about what type of kitchen you could have put in to be
Mm-hmm.
nice and neutral, which would appeal to a
Mm-hmm.
larger audience, which would actually people would then go, I tell you what. That's actually a really good kitchen. I would move in and keep that because
Yeah.
often people say, "Oh, they'll just rip out that new kitchen and they'll put their own kitchen in." Well, they
Mm-hmm.
won't. That's a myth. That's an urban myth when you say that. They'll rip out this kitchen if I put a new kitchen in, they'll put in it. But they will if the kitchen isn't appealing to a broader market. But that's how
Absolutely.
we know it's appealing. Classic example today is so many people are putting in these black fittings
Yeah.
on their bathrooms. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
matte black taps, the
Yeah.
matte black, and it's like, no, yes, it will work for this short period of time, but that's a fashion statement, and that will
Mm-hmm.
go out of fashion within the next 4 or 5 years. That will be
Absolutely.
like the Pampas Green of the
Yeah.
1970s. You know, matte black on
100%.
handles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was at a property on Thursday and it's a farmhouse steading and they've done a lot of conversion to it and they're now in the situation where they're ready to sell it. And there's lots of original features. So you've got the stone walls in some of the rooms, you've got the beams, everything about it sparks country cottage. Went into the kitchen. The first thing they said is, yeah, well, we're thinking that we would wait and not sell just now because we're thinking we'll put a new kitchen in. And I said, stop. I said, there's nothing wrong with this kitchen. It looks great. You might go out and put a £30,000 all singing, all dancing kitchen in. I said, but this is a country home. I said, so anyone coming in here is going to see this bling bling kitchen and just
Yeah,
go, it doesn't suit the house. They're going to
yeah,
take, in that instance, exactly what you're saying, they're going to take that out and they're going to put a country style kitchen in. So you're going to spend all that money that you won't get back because it won't make much of a difference in the value of the house. Just leave it as it is.
yeah. A mid-market, mid-range kitchen is probably perfect to put in.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get them anywhere. Magnet, Howdens, where else? B&Q. B&Q
Mm-hmm.
make really good kitchens now. They've moved up to 18 mil carcasses. They used to do 14 mil, which were actually quite difficult. So when you put something on the shelves, the beveled over a
Yeah.
period of time. But they've actually moved to 18 mil carcasses now, and they're really, really good in comparison. They're very, very comparable with Howdens now, which was their quality build at the
Mm-hmm.
time. Mil carcasses. So all the kitchen manufacturers have caught up with the existing one, who was the jewel in the crown at the time was Howdens. And there's no comparison now, really. They're all as good as each other. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
be honest, it really comes down to price
Yeah.
when it comes to kitchens now because they're all the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Mm-hmm.
Or
So
whether
yeah.
you want to save on ready built, whether you want to save on ready built, Howdens, I think, is the only one that does ready built. Ready
Mm-hmm.
built carcasses, which you can just put in straight away, makes it so simple to fit. That's maybe a good option for a lot of people if they want to turn around something quick, and if
Mm-hmm.
they can only get a joiner to fit for maybe a certain amount of days. It's like
Yeah.
get the ready built carcasses in, so don't need to build it. Again, this is the remit, but you're only coming to sell my house. It's like no, I'm coming to help you get from A to B in the
Yeah.
most efficient way possible, in the most cost-effective way possible, and that's why you've got me here. The
Mm-hmm.
advice that I often give people when I say that, and I will be big-headed when I say this, the advice that I give people is more than likely more than the actual fee I'm just about to charge them to sell their house. I'm actually doing it for nothing. So they're
Yeah.
literally getting advice on how to save a fortune and how to make things so efficient for themselves, and then I'm actually charging them to sell their house at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's a win-win, I would say, every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Advice is good. So, I mean, what other reasons might you choose to wait? Again, we talked about this earlier on, but if you have hefty early repayment penalties on your current mortgage,
Yeah.
that you're not going to be able to transfer over to a new property, because not all mortgages are transferable. So important, again, to look into that and make sure that you can. Don't assume that you can. Then actually it might not be worth your while moving just now. But you've got to look at the multiples. So again, it's like, where are you going and how long are you going to live there? And if you're going to be living in your new home for 10 years, then maybe it's worth it. But actually, if you're having to move for business and it's only going to be a small amount of time, then actually maybe you should be waiting.
Yeah, definitely. And also the fact that the misconception, and we talked about this out in Springfield. I went to see a couple out there, and they thought they're coming out their mortgage term. So they were actually determined to move straight away, because they were terrified that they were going to have to pay 3 times more on their mortgage than they were paying right now, and they were wondering how they could afford that. And then I said to them, but if your term's up in 6 months' time, why do you not go back to your bank and see if you can get a deal right now it can work for you? And will a deal work for you right now? You've got existing rates. And they went, yeah, but I was able to do it now. And I said to them, well, why would you pay the best part of £10,000 to move then and downsize to a smaller property to be able to do that in 6 months' time? If you could do a deal right now and take the financial hit on your penalty, which is £1,400 on your mortgage, to get a new mortgage right now and fix it for the next 3 or 5 years, and stay in your existing house with no disruption, and have the house that you wanted of your dreams. I never really thought of it like that. It's like, that's why you get us out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, something to think about. Selling up for the last time and not buying again. You've got to think about, what does that mean for you? What's your home's current value?
Yeah.
Does it cover the minimum amount that you need for your future plans? So again, we talk about this with people as well. I mean, we're not giving financial advice. We're definitely pointing them in the right direction. But again, if people are maybe thinking of retirement plan as well, Jim, that often comes up in the discussions as well. And they think, well, I need to move and buy a more expensive house because then that's me planning for my future retirement, without actually thinking that the property that they're in might actually provide that to them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that. Here's another one as well we'll have to talk about, is partners who are separating, both downsizing, making it more important to sell when prices are rising, to have more equity to start off. Often there's just a mass fight, and it's like, neither the twain shall meet. And I have sat down with people and said to some people, actually, maybe actually couples counselling could be the best way forward for you right now, to see a way forward. Now, it's not about getting you back together. It's about actually seeing a way forward for the both of you. If it means getting back together, then fair enough. You've sorted your differences. If it means actually separating and going your own way forward, at least it's on an amicable basis. So I've often referred them to the couples counselling, which is effectively, I think in Fife, I can't remember the name of it, but there is loads and loads of places. There's one in St Andrews, there's one in Kirkcaldy, there's one in Glenrothes, and they're very, very good at what they do. They're skilled for, Relate Scotland, that's it. I was waiting for that. Relate Scotland is actually really good at this, and they can help people see a way forward, and therefore not involve huge solicitor bills, which is my biggest bugbear. Sorry, solicitors out there, I know it's your business, but the reality is, it is a lot of money gets wasted on fighting through solicitors, when in actual fact, if they went to Relate Scotland, they could effectively do it for the best part of, I'm sure it's like 20 or 30 quid a session. And it helps you both find a way forward, to make sure everything's done amicably. So every single time, I come across this, when the opportunity appears, I'll recommend that before I'll recommend fighting it out with each other.
It's really important to do that, Jim, actually, because I think that it's human nature, isn't it, with some, that you get so fixated on the actual battle that you're not thinking about the bigger picture. And well, I'm not backing down. Well, I'm not backing down. And actually, it can cost you tens of thousands of pounds rather than just having an adult conversation.
You've hurt me, so I'll hurt you.
That comes into play.
That's
very much so.
Partners who are separating, both downsizing, making it more important to sell when prices are rising, to have more equity to start with. Again, that's probably key here in terms of what we're thinking about. But listen, if you're still unsure about whether your finances work for a move, speak to an independent mortgage advisor before ruling anything out. Their fresh perspective on this can highlight possibilities you may not have even considered. In the past, I was amazed at how many times people came to me and said, I can only afford this to buy a house, based on my current circumstances to get this amount of mortgage. And then when I've referred them to our mortgage brokers, some of them have been able to afford £10,000 extra with the same monthly payment. And they were able to get their dream home. And some of them have been in it for 10 and 15 years as a result. Could you imagine could you imagine the number of, think about this on a bigger scale. This is like the It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey. It is though. When you look back and think about the amount of people's lives you've actually touched in a positive way and actually given them the right steer in terms of how they need to do things, that could go into thousands.
It can. But actually, it does, as far as that goes. We had a situation the other day, and this is again something to think about that actually hadn't come into mind with this particular client. For whatever reason, the property that they were buying was changing hands. It wasn't changing hands, it was brother and selling and buying. Anyway, what ended up happening is the property changed hands as in who the actual legal owner was. And then this couple bought it. It was their first time purchase. And because the new owner, although they'd been living there for decades, but had only just become the new owner within a 6 months period, the new couple that were buying it couldn't get their mortgage. The mortgage company wouldn't lend to them because the property had changed hands within a 6 month period. And that's quite normal for many mortgage lenders.
Very nervous. But there is ways around that, by the way.
But that's just what I was going to say. So what we did is we recommended Kessa to them, who you spoke about earlier on. So they spoke to Kessa. Within 2 days, Kessa had a mortgage lender that would lend them money. They were still able to buy that house. So it's about speaking to someone that can help you.
I think it's about speaking to someone who's very active in that area still.
Yeah.
You know, there is mortgage brokers, just like I would say doctors. I remember going to see my doctor years and years ago. I know him very, very well, Ron Page. He's now retired. Ron's absolutely fantastic doctor. And I always took advice and I always realised what he did. But I was in the market of the vitamin market at the time. And I asked Ron about, you know, vitamins, multivitamins and how that would help and all the rest of it. And he says, well, as a general GP, we don't actually get involved in anything like that in terms of health benefits or learning anything like that at all. And I'm like, what? But that's surely to do with your health. And he went, no, we don't. Unless you're doing continuous education and you decide to focus on that area, that's the only way you'll acquire that knowledge. But he actually admitted to me at the time, he says, most of my colleagues actually just come out and they just do the bare minimum to scrape through to remain qualified and just more or less what he said was coast it for the rest of their days. And I think if you could apply that to most industries, you could apply that to our industry of estate agents, you could apply it to the letting industry, you could apply it to mortgage brokers, you could apply it to financial advisors. So you get what you pay for, I think, is the most important thing. And it's the old expression, if you pay peanuts,
you get monkeys.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's changing this, well, not changing, but it's on the same line as you, but it's nothing to do with what we're talking about. But you mentioned Dr. Page there. Dr. Page actually looked after me and my babies when I was having them.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Small world.
Yeah, so Ron did that. He was our family doctor.
Okay, anyhow. So let's come back to this then. We're right at the end of this. What is your conclusion? What would you say if now we know what we know, okay? And now we're more knowledgeable, and everybody else that's watching and tuning in is more knowledgeable as well. I'll be interested to hear what everybody else thinks. Should you sell now or should you wait? What's the right move for you? What would be your advice right now to somebody in sort of a one sentence soundbite?
I think for us, we've definitely given people a lot to think about. And I think the outcome is, do you understand where you go, why you're going, when you need to go? Do you understand the background behind it? How you're going to get your finances to work? Does it fit for your family? What is the journey on? And can you sell your house just now? And if you've got the answers to all of those things, then the answer is yes.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. I can't add anything to that at all. That is the perfect textbook answer. Are you reading that somewhere?
No.
That's a perfect textbook answer, isn't it? It's the fact that the more knowledge and information that you gain as a seller or even as a buyer, because a buyer will be a seller more than likely, and a seller will be a buyer more than likely as well, is both. The more knowledge you gain from the professionals, from the experts in their field, not the coasters, as I say. You know, the people that are just like, oh, I'm an estate agent. Well, what do you know? Oh, I just put a house on and hope for the best. But that's kind of how most estate agents that have arrived today appear. If you're more knowledgeable and demonstrate that knowledge, then that's probably the person you should be listening to, I would say. Definitely. And take advice, get the facts, then make a decision. And for me, if it means I don't sell or I do sell, guess what? That's the right answer for you. That's my final conclusion on this.
Yeah. Perfect.
And that's it. Thanks very much for coming on the show, Perry. I really appreciate it. And everybody else, if you've got any further questions later on, please feel free to ask them. I'm going to stay with the TikTokers for a while and read some of their information and see if I can help them as well, because I get a lot of questions on TikTok. Sorry, guys, I've neglected you. And I usually go back to them and just scroll back and see if there's any information I could provide for them outside of this. Until next time, guys, this has been Fife Properties. Have a fantastic day.
Take care. Bye-bye from me and bye-bye from him.